Alright fellas, it's been a few days since the big undisputed bout, and it's given us a few days to really digest that win. Since the fight, the big debate I've said online has been, is Usyk pound for pound number one, and more so, and more importantly, is Usyk an all-time great? So today I want to break down this idea and just have a look at Usyk's legacy and just how he'll truly be remembered. Now first off, aside from his recent victory, let's just go back a bit. The Tyson fight seemed to be the cherry on top to kickstart this whole conversation about Usyk being an all-time great, and this win isn't the complete reason for this call. A lot of it sits on what's led up to this victory. Usyk had a solid amateur career with a 355-15 record, which is pretty crazy if you really think about it. Within this amateur career, versing fighters such as Shawn Porter and Beterbiev. Alongside this impressive amateur record, he also went along to the 2012 Olympics, where he would end up winning the gold medal for Ukraine. He would then turn pro in 2013, pretty late at the age of 26, signing with the Klitschko brothers promotional company. Starting in the cruiserweight division, Usyk jumped straight into tough fights against fighters with a lot more experience than him. Within a year, in 2014, he was fighting for the interim WBO Intercontinental Cruiserweight title. He would defend this title against a former Russian Cruiserweight champion. On his road to a world title, he would also defeat a former South African light heavyweight champion in Johnny Muller. A fight against then little-known Cuban boxer in Pedro Rodriguez pushed Usyk into the number one position for the WBO rankings. Meaning, within a small 3-year period after turning pro, Usyk would find himself in a world title fight against undefeated Polish boxer Glowacki, who was 26-0 at the time. Usyk would end up winning this bout by points and earning himself his first ever world title. He would then make his US debut on the undercard of Hopkins vs Joe Smith Jr., fighting against a little-known South African fighter. He would end up winning his debut by knockout in the 9th. Funnily enough, after his debut, he talked about his desire to fight Anthony Joshua at heavyweight, which was pretty much laughed off at the time. He would then break down American prospect Michael Hunter. Post this fight, he would enter the World Boxing Super Series, which was an 8-man tournament which sought to unify the belts. He first fought WBO champion Marco Huck, which he would go on to win by TKO. His next fight in the tournament would really be his toughest fight to date, against Briedis. Now you might have seen him before, as he fought Opetaia as the co-main for the Fury card. Back then, Briedis was no slouch. When he fought Usyk, he had a 23-0 record, and being a favourite for the tournament. Even now, current champion Opetaia says he used to look up to Briedis. Briedis back then was absolutely world class. The fight happened, and one judge scored it a draw, while the two others scored in favour of Usyk by just 1 point. He even said at the end of this fight that this was his toughest fight to date for his career so far. Usyk would then go on to fight fellow finalist Gassiev in Moscow. He would dominantly win a unanimous decision and would be crowned the winner of the World Boxing Super Series and become the first ever 4-belt undisputed cruiserweight champion. He would then have one last fight at cruiserweight against Tony Bellew before moving up to heavyweight. He would vacate the cruiserweight belts and take 2 fights before challenging for a heavyweight title. He would go against Witherspoon and then Derek Chisora before eventually landing on the door of then heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. Of course, he would end up beating Joshua by unanimous decision in Joshua's own backyard, followed by a rematch where he would win again, with Joshua having a meltdown after the fight. As a result of these bouts, Usyk was now a 2-division world champion. He would then defend these belts against prospects Daniel Dubois, and then that brings us to the modern day with his last bout against Fury for the undisputed title. With that out of the way, I want to talk about his status as an all-time great. Is he a great of this current generation of fighters? Absolutely. He's a 2-time undisputed champion. That's absolutely huge. But when we get into the all-time great debate, things get a little bit harder. I think when breaking it down, instead of exactly pointing out a specific numbered list where he sits, I think it's better to look at if Usyk would sit in the top 20 all-time heavyweights or even in the top 10. I think what's important when thinking about the greatest fighters of all time is to focus mainly on the biggest wins and their career accomplishments. It's important to look at singular wins as well as their career as a package. A lot of the time when we see people compile these lists of all-time greats, and especially heavyweight greats, we see people base these lists around more so cultural impact than the boxing itself. And yes, while certain boxers might be more legendary because of their antics and the way they speak and present themselves, I think we need to really focus more on the boxing. Now, I'm not going to create a complete heavyweight great list, but let me present you with some facts to let you come to your own decision about where Usyk might sit. His reign at cruiserweight was historic, there's no doubt about that. he became undisputed for the first time ever in the cruiserweight division in the 4-belt era, and pretty much cleared out the division, beating both prospects in, say, Michael Hunter, and taking care of the best the division had to offer in Britus and Bellew in a short space of time. In the heavyweight division, he's pretty much done the same. He's taken the hardest fights he could against, say, Joshua, Dubois and Fury, earning himself that undisputed title. Earning it more specifically, as it's been said so many times over the past couple weeks, for the first time in almost 25 years. He's also done so pretty much completely on the road. His last fight in Ukraine was in 2015, and the closest he's got to fighting back there since was in Poland against Dubois last year. So pretty much, he's won all of these achievements on enemy territory. I think something also important to note, or at least I consider important, is how hard I think it is to jump divisions from cruiser to heavy. Going from cruiserweight to a heavyweight division where most of the champions are absolutely massive and you're pretty undersized in comparison and you're still dominating is a massively impressive feat. Just to highlight how tough that is, there's now a division that was made called Bridgerweight, aimed to provide something in the middle so the gap wouldn't be so large between the weights. Say if Usyk wins against Fury again in the rematch, I think it'd be hard to debate that he isn't the best heavyweight of this generation. After Fury, who else is there for him to fight at this point? The answer is pretty much no one. No other fight will really do much for his legacy. In my opinion, I think it'd be absolutely debatable after a second Fury win to possibly rank him in the top 10 heavyweights of all time. Olympic gold medal, undisputed in 2 divisions, versing generational greats and finishing undefeated, that's a pretty good case. But now, I want to hear your thoughts. How do you rank Usyk? Do you see him as an all-time great? I want to hear all your thoughts down below. But just quickly, if this is your first time watching a video of mine, my name is Cloyster and I make boxing and fight related content, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you would consider subscribing or liking, that would be massively appreciated. Anyways, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.